Welcome back to True Transformation. I'm Jason Atkinson, and I'm here to educate, encourage, and inspire you to make real and lasting change. In order to do that, there are three main areas that are essential to master, and those are the three legs of the table, as I like to refer to them. First up is mindset, nutrition, and training. So today we're going to be a little more on the nutrition side of things, and I have a question from a subscriber. It says, what kind of diet do you think works best for weight loss? Okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, I don't like to use the word diet unless I'm referring to a way of eating. So I want to reword that just a little bit. We're talking about a way of eating that works best for fat loss, not specifically weight loss. When people say they want to lose weight, what they really mean in a roundabout way is they want to lose body fat while maintaining or possibly adding muscle. So that's always the goal of a transformation program like the ones I run, is that you would not lose muscle. So just to clarify a little bit, we're talking about the way of eating that works best for fat loss and muscle preservation. So filling in a few of the blanks there. That is a complex issue, and what I'm about to share with you is what I've gathered and researched over almost a decade now, and the results are that I use, this is the method that I used to lose 75 pounds of body fat and maintain that now for close to 10 years. So, easy way to explain it, compared to the standard American diet, higher in protein, lower in carbohydrates, with a moderate amount of fat. There's not really a name for it, but it borrows from a lot of different principles that you may be familiar with, like the paleo diet, ketogenic diet, carnivore diet to some extent, intermittent fasting, and just a good old-fashioned high-protein diet like the bodybuilders followed in the 60s and 70s during the golden era of bodybuilding. It's got a little bit of that flair to it. I understand everyone doesn't want to be a bodybuilder, but if you want to be some of the strongest, leanest people, you pattern yourself after what the strongest, leanest, healthiest people in the world are doing, and most of those are fitness professionals or bodybuilding type athletes. So, with that clarification, there are a few different principles here. First of all, I think people should focus on protein. The minimum amount would be something like a gram per pound of body weight per day. On the low end, that might be 1 gram per pound of lean body mass per day. Lean body mass is calculated on total body weight minus pounds of body fat. That's your lean body mass. If you're significantly overweight, which the majority of the population is, you don't need to consume extra protein to support excess body fat. So your lean body mass in grams per day is a good rough number. You can go to 1.25, so 1.25 times your lean body mass. If you don't know what your lean body mass is, you can eat 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight, or a reasonable body weight. If you go by the height and weight charts, you can look up what you're supposed to weigh, what would be a healthy weight for your age and height. So those are all rough numbers, but I take that and build meals and snacks around that. So about every 4 hours, for a total of 5 times per day on the high end, we should be looking for most people, it's going to be somewhere between about 20 and 30 grams of protein. That would take you to roughly 120 all the way up to 150 grams of protein. That's a low end, okay? And numbers will vary. By the way, if you want a specific customized response to this, there's a link in the comments below. You can schedule a free 15-minute phone consultation with me, and I can map that out in as much detail as you want. I'll also send you as a free gift by email a copy of the PDF food guidelines that I created, and we can go over that together. That's something that you can print out at home, stick up on the refrigerator, so you have a nice handy reference there of what to do and what not to do. So, back to the question. High protein, okay? All right, next up is fat. We got to have some fat. That's essential, okay? Protein is essential. That's the main nutrient we need on a daily basis in the highest amount. That's what prevents muscle wasting. That's what's going to supply raw material that the body needs to build and rebuild. And then you have some fats that are essential. It's a relatively small amount, But if we don't get that through our diet or supplementation, then our health is going to suffer. And that number would be something like a half a gram per pound of body weight per day. So if someone's 200 pounds, that would be 200 grams of protein, 100 grams of fat, and these are starting points. That can be tweaked based on individual preferences and activity levels and so forth, but those are rough starting numbers. And then rounding out the big three there of macronutrients is, of course, carbohydrates, which are entirely optional. There's zero requirement for carbohydrate in human nutrition, and it's perfectly possible to thrive on a zero carb diet. Not that that's what I'm recommending, but that would be the amount that you would actually need. So carbohydrate is technically not a nutrient in the true sense of the word. It's basically just an energy source, and it's an alternate energy source. So carbohydrate and fat are both energy sources in the diet. And in the absence of glucose or carbohydrate, the body is going to preferentially burn more fat. If the fat intake is lower, you'll burn more stored body fat, which is really the goal of these programs. So I would say carbohydrates, keep it as low as you can. If you can go to zero, that would be great, majority of the day or majority of the week. And then roughly 25 grams would kind of be the max to stay in a ketogenic state, which I like a ketogenic diet. So to define that, ketogenic technically means very low carbohydrate diet. It has nothing to do with the amount of fat, okay? The clinical ketogenic diet that became popularized was created to treat epileptic children, to prevent seizures. It's not necessary to consume 75% fat and limit carbohydrates to 5% in order to reap the benefits of ketogenic state. If the carbohydrates are low enough, the body will go into ketosis, which just means basically you're no longer dependent on glucose as an energy source. Your brain switches over to utilizing ketones or breaking fat down and producing ketone bodies. Now, here's the caveat. I love ketogenic diet, but I don't stay in a ketogenic state all the time. And this is where a lot of people got it mixed up. What I do is a higher protein, lower carbohydrate, cyclical ketogenic diet. Okay, that sounds very technical, but it just means that there are carbohydrates on a cycle. So a weekly cycle from Sunday morning until Friday midday or Friday evening, I'm in a very low carbohydrate state. It takes about 3 days to get into ketosis. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. By Tuesday, I'm probably in ketosis. So Wednesday and Thursday, most of the day Friday, are maximum fat burning days. During that time, I'm using up some of the glycogen, the stored carbohydrate in the muscles, by doing weight training and cardiovascular exercise that's depleting some of that stored carbohydrate so the body can burn fat more effectively. By dropping the insulin levels low, you won't be hungry. You get the protein up high enough, consume enough fiber and healthy fat to keep you full and nourished. You won't be craving all this sugar and flour and seed oil that may have been the mainstay of your way of eating. I know that was the case with me when I weighed over 250 pounds. Those were things that I ate on a daily basis. So do that, and then here's the surprise. Friday afternoon, switching over to carbohydrates. I was coaching someone recently who had been on a strict keto diet, and that idea kind of terrified her of eating a significant amount of carbohydrates. But I stress that there's a window. It's a meal, it's a dinner and a dessert, Friday and Saturday, or whatever 2 days works for your schedule. I'll just give you my schedule. Once or twice a week, based on your results. What's going to happen is the carbohydrates are going to get stored in the muscle tissue because now you're depleted and your muscles are ready to just soak it up like a sponge. So it doesn't get stored as fat, which is great. That will also give you a burst of energy for the coming week. Now you can store some glycogen and have enough energy to do some activity for the coming week. And also, it's going to rehydrate the muscles. It's going to bring your cortisol levels down, so your stress hormones are going to drop. You may sleep better if your sleep has been suffering from following a ketogenic or low-carb way of eating throughout the week. Also, your leptin increases, your ghrelin increases. Those are hormones that regulate appetite and energy expenditure. They have a role in fat loss, promoting the release of stored body fat. And like I said, insulin is down most of the time. Yes, it's going to spike when you eat a high carb meal or two, but insulin in and of itself is not detrimental. In fact, we would die without it. It's an essential hormone. Insulin is a problem when it's chronically elevated, which is the pattern with the standard American diet that's high in refined carbohydrates and very high frequency and very high amount over a long period of time contributes to insulin resistance. So when insulin resistance happens, that's the underlying mechanism of type 2 diabetes. Most people who have excess body fat are insulin resistant to some degree, so the cells have sort of lost their ability to use glucose as energy. It continues to circulate in the bloodstream and or get stored as body fat, neither of which is a good scenario. So in order to prevent that from happening, keep the carbohydrates low during the week, spike it every once in a while, because if you stay on a strict ketogenic diet long term, initially it improves insulin sensitivity. But if you continue to eat very low carbohydrates for a very long period of time, eventually the body gets the idea that there's no glucose, there's no carbohydrates in the environment. So it desensitizes the muscles. It makes you more insulin resistant. That's not what we want. We want those muscles to be insulin sensitive. When you become resistant, it's because your body is trying to divert all the incoming glucose for brain function. So staying in a ketogenic prolonged state is not the best outcome. Cycle in carbohydrates once or twice a week on the weekends. Sunday is a reset day. Go back to the low carb phase and then repeat that pattern week after week. So it's the best of both worlds. You reap the benefits of fat burning in the low carb phase, and then in the high carb refeed phase on the weekends, you get to enjoy some of your favorite cheat meals. For me personally, that would be pizza, ice cream, French fries, all the forbidden foods. And then during the week, create a framework that you can live with. I always stress that any changes you make should be safe and sustainable. If you can't continue beyond the first month or two because it's so restrictive, that's a recipe for failure. So that's all the time we have for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, but take advantage of the comment there. Book yourself a free session by phone and let's talk. And I'll be back soon with a new video. Thanks.